Okay, today we're gonna discuss about exponential functions. You remember last time what we done before? We have already lectured about how to get the how to solve for the variable, right? Now that we're already down to exponential functions, now we're gonna play the game called solving for the variable. Again, the principle implies the same application of what you did before, applying the rules of exponents that you had before when you were in grade 8 or grade 9 to grade 10. Sige nga, tapusin namin yung project na to. So just what I said, di ba remember sa number 1, we have 25 raised to the x power times 5 is equivalent to 3,125. If you look at this problem, di ba remember this implies the application of the laws of exponents and solving for algebraic equations. So when you solve for exponential equations, what do? First, madali lang to yung step. Your first goal is to make sure that all the bases are equal. Di ba remember in exponential equations, you have to ensure that all bases are equal. Like for example, di ba remember you have an equation that looks like this. For example, di ba remember I told you before, if you have 4 raised to what power gives you 16? What is the value 4? Di ba remember you have to know, you know that 4 squared is 16. So x equals 2. Di ba? And that's your answer. In case you're not so sure, you have to make sure that the two bases are set equivalent to each other. So like this, if you were to do this one-to-one property, it would be like this. 4 raised to what power gives you 16. And you can raise that to 4 raised to 4 squared equals 16. Then make sure when the bases are equal, goodbye bases, and x equals 2, you still get the same answer. Okay? So that's what you're going to do. Now going back to our problem here, it says that we have 25x times 5 is equivalent to 3,125. In short, 25 raised to what power times 5 gives you 3,125. Or what you can simply do muna is, if you were to apply algebraic method, you can divide 3,125 divided by 5. And doing that, so, do you remember if you divide 3,125 divided by 5, 6, 30, 125, 25. So therefore, what you have na lang is 25 raised to what power gives you 625, diba? And we know if we take this, if we take the, and we shrink the base, do we find a base that's congruent? We know that 25 is 5 squared. So 5 squared is 2x, diba? And 625 is 5 raised to the 4th power. Now the bases are equal. We can cross them out. 2x equals 4. Divide both sides by 2, so x equals 2. But wait, so x equals 2. But wait, we're still not yet done. Because we still need to plug this back into our equation to check. You know it's always important to always check your answer to verify if this were correct. Otherwise, if you did not get the right answer, it's automatically wrong. So we are supposed to get x as positive 2. Let's see. Or furthermore, you can also apply the laws of exponents. Let's try that one. Diba sabi ko dito, 25x raised to 5 is equivalent to 3,125. So if you were to set all the base equivalent to each other, 25, do I remember, the congruent base is 5. Because 25 raised to what power gives 5 raised to what power gives you 25? It's 5 squared. Diba? So still the same, 25 2x. So 25 2x times 5 raised to the first power is equivalent to, what's 3,125? Remember, 3,125 is 5 raised to what power gives you that? So let's divide. So we know we divided by 5 kanina, that's 625. And 65 divided by 25, that's supposed to be 25. Diba? 25 times 25 is 5 squared times 5 squared. Or you apply power law, it's 5 raised to the 4th power. And times 5 gives you, yes, 5 raised to the 5th power. That is your answer, right? Now now that all the bases are equal, goodbye bases, and now we can solve. So 2x plus 1 equals 5. Diba? Now we work on the math. We're back to one-step equation. Then we subtract 1 on both sides. We get 2x is equivalent to 4. Divide both sides by 2. You still get the same answer as x equals 2. So that's correct, right? Still the same. But let's double check to see if we're correct. Let's see. 25 squared. Do you remember 25 times 25? There's a shortcut trick that you can do if you multiply 25 and 25. You just put 25 on this side and then add 1, 3, and then to the top number, and that becomes 3. 3 times 2 to give you 6. 625. Multiplied by 5, this becomes 25. 5 times 2 is 10, 12. 5 times 6, 31. Correct. So therefore, that's the right answer. The answer is 2. So number 1, what's the value of x? X equals 2. Very good. Next, number 2. For this item, this one implies the application. Oh my god. For this item, this implies the application of fractions. You know already how to translate exponential equations whenever they're fractions, right? So whenever you see a fraction, what do you do to the exponent if it's in the denominator? That's right. You set it to negative power. Right. So therefore, let's look at the problem first. Our problem in item number 2 goes like this. We have 1 over 1,296 times 216 is equivalent to 36 raised to the r power over times 1 over 216. If you can do algebraic method, you can also do that. Because 216 and 1,296 can be done. You can divide them both and set it to lowest terms. Pero, I think it's better if you apply the rules of exponents. That'll help you get along. So, we know that the congruent base is what? Do you find a congruent base for these numbers? Why do you say it's 6? If your answer is 6, you are correct. But why do you say 6? Because 6 squared gives you 36. 6 cubed gives you 216. Remember that when you were in pre-high school, like grade 7 or grade 8, you remember the squared values and cube values of basic numbers. Like 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared 16, and so on. Up to, depende kung ano yung number na sinabi yung guro mo. So now let's write the math. So first of all, we need to make sure that every base is congruent. Or if you can do 216 times 1 to give you 216 over 1,296, pwede pa rin, then you can simplify it to lowest terms, divide both sides by 6. What do you think the answer could be? Yun ang mangyayari. Diba, remember 216 divided by 6 gives you 36. Diba? Pero let's find out. Let's see what will the answer be. And then 36 raised to r power is equivalent to 1 over 216. So you can shrink the bases together. Kaya let's make sure that it's a congruent base. Alright? Let's work it out. So, diba remember, sabi ko dito, ang number dito kasi ay 1 over 1,296 times 216 is equivalent to 36 over 1 over 216. If we were to translate this, diba remember, 1,296 is the same as, I think that's 36, I think that's 216 times 6. Because 16 times 6 gives you 96. 6 times 2 equals 1. So tama, that's 6 raised to the 4th power. So if I were to do this, this will be divided by 216. If I were to set this to lowest terms, we divide both sides, everything by 216. And we're supposed to get 1. And then this 1,296 divided by 216. That's equivalent to 6. 1, 6. Diba? And then 36r over 1 over 216. That's equivalent to 6 2r squared is equivalent to 6 cubed. Very good. Because 216 is 6 cubed. Right? Now we can apply the math. Actually, for this situation, you can also apply cross multiplication. So therefore, you can do 6 cubed and then 6 times 1, 6 times 2r. So this implies the application of law of exponents, right? This implies the laws of exponents. And then the next thing that you do, all the bases are congruent. So 2r plus 1 equals 3. Subtract 1 on both sides, you get 2r. Diba? Wait, that 6 raised to the cube is on the denominator. And multiplied by 1 is still the same. So we get, ano yun? Dapat we should not do that to the exponents. Kasi if I were to do this in that manner, dapat we have to get this answer. So dapat this is supposed to be 216. And 216, that's supposed to be, ano yun? So never mind, that formula doesn't work. But actually, I was supposed to get the right answer though. Kasi yun naman dapat, we're supposed to get that answer din. And then 3 minus 1 equals 2. Divide both sides by 2. Therefore, r equals 1. Is that right? Let's see. So, diba remember, or let's try the original way. Let's see if we also get the same answer. Diba remember, sabi ko sa'yo, that 1 over 1,296 is, diba remember, that's 6 raised to the 4th power. 6 raised to the 4th power times 6 cubed, diba? Is equivalent to 36 squared 2r and then times 6 cubed. Tama? That's what we get. Now, all we have to do is to bring that to the numerator. Remember, if we were to bring that 6 on the denominator, we have to translate the exponent into a negative 1. That's how we translate fractional exponents. Right? So that's 6 raised to the 4th negative 4 power times 6 raised to the cube is equivalent to 2r times 6 cubed. Right? Ah, wait, that's supposed to be negative, diba? Because 1 over 216 is the same as 1 raised to 6 over 6 cubed. So that's supposed to be negative 3. Diba? Now we just now all the bases are the same. We can do this, right? We can just add like terms. Negative 4 plus 3 and then 2r minus 3. We can combine like terms here, making that negative 4 plus 3 equals negative 1 equals 2r minus 3. Bring the 1 here. Para mas comfortable, we add 3 to both sides. And we're supposed to get 2r. Negative 2. Divide both sides by 2. R equals negative 2. That's positive 2, diba? Divide both sides by 2. R equals 1. So tama, that's the value of R. It's equivalent to 1. We still get the same answer. Now let's check. We know that 1,000, so we know that 216 over 196, 1,296 is 1/6, diba? So that's 1/6 on the left side. Now on the right side, 36 raised to the 1 power, because any number raised to the first power is just itself, right? So that becomes 36 over 216. We cross multiply to verify if this were true. And even if we do, we know that 36 times 6 gives you 216. And 216 times 1 is 216. So this checks out. Correct. It's a valid solution. Next, number 3, we have this problem. It says 27 raised to the w minus 4th power is equivalent to 9 times double. 9 raised to the w is equivalent to 1 over 243. Now, how do you solve for the w's here? Mas madali lang yan. Do you know what you do here? First, you know already what's the fundamental principle concept. You have to ensure that all the bases are the same. Look at all the bases of every number that you see and think what number, what base can that be raised to in order for that to, what exponent can that specific base that you're thinking about can be raised to in order for you to derive those numbers. Like if you look at 27, 27 is what? 3, right? 9 is also 3. And 243 is also 3. So therefore, our congruent base must be 3. Right? Pero 3 raised to what power gives you 27? 3 cubed. Very right. Very good. So 3 cubed. 9 is 3 squared. And 243, do I remember, it's in the denominator. So you have to translate that into a negative exponent. Because whenever you have a negative exponent, it's always translated into the positive, pero nasa denominator. It's 1 over the translated exponent. Right? Just like that. So now let's write this on paper. So, di ba remember yung 127, that's the same as 3 cubed, di ba? 3 cubed, and then copy your exponents, which is w minus 4. I'll write it down na lang para sure. So, 3 cubed, w minus 4. Di ba? That's the first one. And it's equivalent to 2 squared. 3 squared, that's 2 times w. Because that implies power law. Di ba remember power law is any base raised to that exponent, and that raised to another exponent is raised to that power. And that's a power law, right? Part 3 squared become 9, and 9 raised to what power gives you that answer? That's the value, di ba? And 1 over 243 is the same as 3 raised to the negative 5. At first, you may write it as 1 raised to the negative 3/5 on the denominator. But if this could baffle you, you can write that first. But if you were to make it direct, you can bring that up to the surface and translate that to a negative exponent. So in short, it would be 3, and then this one is raised to 3 raised to 2w times 3 raised to the negative 5th. Right? Now that all the bases are equal, let's work on the exponents. So let's zoom in. So now we have 3 times w minus 4 is equivalent to 2w minus 5 plus 5 minus 5. Take note you can do plus because we're adding the exponents, but since our exponent is negative, that's why we are subtracting. Although if you were to make it plus, it's the same as adding with a negative. That's what they say. Now we just apply the math. First, with the 3 times w, we distribute that, making that 3w. And then that, what's that? Sorry. And then that 3 times 4 gives you negative 12. Right? And then 2w, copy the right. Now we isolate the variables. We move the 2 onto one side, so making that 3w minus 2w is equivalent to positive 12 minus 5. Just like that. Subtracting the w's together, you get w equals negative 7. Is that right? Let's check our answer. Going back to our original equation, we have negative 7 minus 4. Negative 7 minus 4 is negative 11. Ayan, that's supposed to be positive 7 pala. Kasi yun that's positive, di ba? Because 12 minus 5 equals 7. So yan, let's go back to our equation. So 7 minus 4 is 27 cubed. And 27 cubed is... Yes, diba remember 3 cubed is ano yun? It's 27. Diba? This is 3 cubed. 3 cubed equals 27. Pero there's a power law. We square it. And that's supposed to be 7 to 9. Diba? So tama, that's 3 raised to the 6th power. Because 3 raised to the squared is 9. And what's 9 cubed? 729. So tama, it's 3 raised to the 6th power! Or 9 raised, or 27 raised to the cube. So that's it. So therefore, we're supposed to get 729 on the left side. Remember that answer, okay? Next, on the right side, 9 raised to the 7th power over 1 over 243. Take note, diba remember, 9 raised to the 7th power is like this. Diba? Ganito siya. 9 raised to the 7th power over 243. Because that's being multiplied by 1 over 243. Tama? Yung 243, that can be shrunk down into, we can translate that 9 squared 7 into 3 raised to 2 raised to 7. Applying power law, let's see if we get the same answer. And then 3 raised to 5th, diba? Applying the laws of exponents, this is 14. And then 3 raised to the 5th power is 3 to the 5th. Subtract the exponents, it's 3 equals to 9. Pero does 3 raised to the 9th power gives you 729? Let's see about that. Remember, applying power law again, Remember, 3 cubed is 27. And 27 cubed, yes. Correct. It's 729. Correct. That's the answer that we get. 3 cubed is 27. And 27 cubed is 729. To double check, let's apply this. 27 times 27, this becomes 49. $18. That's supposed to be 27 squared. Not 3 cubed. Pero okay lang yan. Kasi nga diba remember dapat, I know naman dapat we're supposed to get 9 ano yun, 9 raised to W power. And since W is positive 7, therefore our 9 can be translated to 3 over 3 squared. Diba 3 squared is equivalent to 9, diba? And 2 raised to the 7th power is this. And we know that 243 is ano yun. So tama, that's supposed to be ano yun. Because diba remember 7 minus 4 is equivalent to 27 cubed. And 27 cubed, diba remember 27? That's cube pala. So 27 cubed is a bit different. Okay, that's why nga 9 raised to the, it's different. So yun lang, kaya that's why nga this 729 here, you still have to multiply it and then you will get this, some kind of answer like that. Check ko na sa calculator para sure. Okay, there's my calculator. So we type here 27 raised to the 7 minus 4 power, and that's 19,683. If we were to translate that to cubed, that's the answer that we're supposed to get. Nakita mo ba yung answer dito? 9,683. That's the answer that we're supposed to get. Pero, this one we have 9 squared, 9 raised to the 7 power, over 243. Do we still get the same answer? Did we? Yes, and that checks. Thank the Lord. Now let's go to our next problem. For our next problem, it says here, it's still the same rule. You know already the legitimate laws of exponents, right? But this time, here's the catch. It's still easy. You just apply what you've learned. It's 8 raised to the f squared times 1 over 64 raised to the 2f power is equivalent to 1 over 512. Now, can you find the base that is congruent for this situation? It's 8. How can you say it's 8? Because for 64, 8 raised to what power gives you 64? 8 squared. And for 512, 8 cubed. Very good. Now, let's write this into our equation. Isulat na namin para you will get the idea. So, di ba remember this is 8 squared, di ba? 8f squared. Di ba? Applying power law. Di ba? And then we have 1 over 64. That's the same as 1 over 8 raised to the second power. 1 over 8 squared. Diba? Raised to the 2f power. Diba? Last but not least, we have what is equivalent to 1 over 8 cubed. Now let's translate the exponents. So remember, we need, since our exponents are on the denominator, if we were to bring that to the numerator, we have to make that negative once again. So therefore, that's supposed to be 8 raised to the f squared power times 8 raised to the negative 2 raised to the 2f power is equivalent to 8 raised to the negative cube. And now that all the bases are congruent, now we can solve for the following. Right? We can now solve for each. Now just applying what you've learned. And now applying what you've learned, and now this is what we're going to do, alright? So 8f squared, that's the same as, do you remember f squared, that's a power law? So you're going to have to multiply the exponents. So that becomes 2f. Wait a sec. Alam ko na to. Kasi nga that's a quadratic. Kasi nga diba remember, naka-quadratic to. Because it's f times f. So that's the same as f squared. So nadoble talaga yung f. You thought kasi it's f 2f, diba? Pero it's f times f. So dapat may dalawang f dito. Because dapat dalawang variable to. Kasi as far as I can remember, naka-quadratic to. So dapat it's f times f or f squared. Hindi siya f raised to the second power that you will do. Pero it's more like quadratic equation. So therefore, it's going to be f squared. And then this one, we distribute, that becomes negative 2 times 2f is equivalent to negative 3. So this is what will happen. F squared is still the same. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4f equals negative 3. And did you know we can rewrite that as a quadratic equation? So tama, naka-quadratic to. So f squared minus 4f plus 3 equals 0. Then again, the same rule applies. What two numbers that you can multiply together that yield to negative 4 and that add to give you positive 3? That's 1 and 4. 1 times 4 gives you 4, negative 4. 4 and 1 subtracted gives you 3. But we know that the answer is supposed to be positive. Diba remember, sorry. This is supposed to be negative 4, but this is supposed to be positive 3. Or either way, diba remember, we want the positive. So dapat dito siya. Then the negative is right here. So tama. Because 1 times 4. 1 times, ano yun? Or let's try again. Let's try another box. Diba remember, this is positive, ano yun? What two numbers that you can multiply together to give you positive 3 and that add to give you negative 4? We know that's 1 and 4. And we want it negative. So therefore, we have to make this one positive, diba? Or maybe it does not work. Kasi dapat, we have to multiply to give you 3. And then add to give you 4. So dapat it should be 3 pala. 3. And then negative times negative, 1 minus 3 equals 4. 1 minus negative 3, that's 1 minus 3, negative 1 minus 3, and that's negative 4. Negative 1 times negative 3 is positive 3. Now, to double check on your answer, let's see we got it right. So, therefore, f equals f minus 1 and f minus 3 equals 0. Let's double check to verify if this were correct. So, we applied the math here. F minus 1, f minus 3. So, let's see we got it right. This becomes positive 3, negative 3f, negative 1f, f squared. Add the equations. You get negative 4f plus 3. So tama, this is correct. So therefore, f can be either positive 1 or f can be positive 3. Now that we have two answers, we need to check both answers to verify if these were correct. Now let's go back to original equation. So diba remember we have 8 raised to the 3 times 3 power times 1 over 64 raised to the 2 times 3 power. Right? And that's equivalent to, what's the last one? 1 over 512. Just like that, di ba? So that becomes 8 raised to the 9th power times, di ba remember, 1 over 64? That's the same as 8 raised to the negative cube. And that becomes power law, right? That applies to the power law. And that's 8 raised to the negative 2 power. And that is raised to the 6th power. Right? And then that becomes, is equivalent to 8 raised to the negative cube. Goodbye exponent, goodbye bases. Now let's do the math. 9 plus negative 2 times 6 equals negative 3. 9 plus negative 12 equals negative 3. Negative 12, 9 plus negative 12, negative 3 equals negative 3. This checks. Correct. So therefore, 3 is a valid solution to the equation. Right? Or, if you are to do 1, of course, this will be 8 raised to 1 times 1 power times 1 over 64 raised to the 2 times 1 power is equivalent to 1 over 512. So this one becomes 8, and this one becomes 8 raised to negative 2 times 2 is equivalent to 8 raised to the negative 3 again. So goodbye bases, everything's congruent. Negative 2 times 2 equals 4. So 1 minus 4 equals negative 3. 1 minus negative 4 is negative 3. Negative 3 equals negative 3. This still checks out. So therefore, these both are valid answers. So F can be 1, F can be 3. And that's our answer. Double check it with a calculator. We will do it lang some other time. Sige, last problem. Let's do number 5 first, okay? The last one is this. I'm sorry if you can't read the problem, but let me write it for you. I will dictate to you the problem, and then after that, you will write it. It's the 6th root of 5 raised to the k minus 4 power multiplied by the x minus 5th root of 25 raised to the k power is equivalent to 1 over 125. Let me write that for you so that hindi kayo mahirapan. O yan, so that's the answer that we're supposed to get. Diba, remember 8 raised to the 1 times 1 power times 1 over 64 raised to the 2 times f power, you get 1 over 512. That's correct. If we try 3 naman, are we still gonna get the same answer? Yes, we still got the same. Correct. Now, going back to what I was saying, the writing goes like this. It goes like this. Do you remember it goes like this? We have this 6th root of 25 raised to the k minus 4 power multiplied by the x minus the k minus 5 power of 25k raised to the k equals 1 over 125. Now, this is a bit tricky to solve, pero just what I said, utilizing the laws of exponents that you learned before will help you with this situation. Okay? Now they say that whenever you have a root, it's always translated as a fractional exponent. Very good. Like for example, do I remember when I say 64 raised to the 1/2 power? What is it translated as? That's the same as taking the square root of 64. Do I remember if you put this in your calculator, ganito siya. Ganito siya, di ba? So we have 64, then raised to the 1/2 power. Ito yun. Did we get 8? Yes. 8. Di ba? Or you can do 8 squared. Di ba remember 64 can be translated as 8 squared? So 8 squared, the 2's cancel if you were to apply power law, and then you're just left with 8/1. To show you what I mean, ito yun. Di ba remember we have 8 squared? Take note with this situation, power law. The 2's cancel, di ba? Yes, the 2's cancel, which will just read you to 8 raised to the first power. And that gives you 8. Kaya that's why nga sabi ko, you can also use roots rewritten as fractional exponents. So like for example, di ba I told you 64 raised to the 1/2 power? It's the same as taking the square root of 64, which will give you negative 8 or positive 8. Now, going back to this equation here, remember that 25 raised to the k minus 4 power, and then taken by a 6th root, it's the same as 25th raised to the k minus 4 divided by 6 power. Very good. So it's rewritten like this. 25 k minus 4 divided by 6. That's the exponent. And then for the second one, 25 raised to k. Ay, sus pala. Ay, so pala kanina. It's 5 pala, not 25. It's 5 pala, sorry. Hindi siya 25. Sorry. So, that's 5 raised to the k minus 4 minus 6 power. And then 25 raised to the Ayan, kasi nga, diba remember, I also have a negative 1 here. Hindi siya negative k. So, therefore, that's supposed to be 5 times 5. Diba remember, this 5 raised to the k minus 4 minus 6 power. So, the second one is 5 raised to the, or 25 raised to the, 25 raised to the, what power? Diba remember, it's a fractional exponent. So, if it were a fractional exponent, it should be k over k minus 5. Very good. Exponent first, diba? This is the numerator. And then the denominator is this one, the root. K minus 5. K minus 5. Then raised to the negative 1. Pero this implies the power law. Kasi diba remember, this is negative. So that's 1 over this thing. And then it's equivalent to 1 over 125. Let me rewrite this again. Para hindi magulo. So this one, we have 5 raised to the k minus 4 divided by 6 power. All raised to the times 25. Diba remember, it's a fractional exponent, so it's negative 1. So it has to be under, diba? So underneath, so 1 over 25 raised to the k minus 5 power, diba? And that's equivalent to 1 over 125. Diba? Now we just apply the math. Now, do you know already what to do with the bases? Can you find the congruent or matching base? 5. Why do you say 5? 5 squared is 25. 25 cubed is 125. Excellent. Now this is what you do. This is a bit tricky, but we can solve this together. So, diba remember yung 5 raised to the k minus 4 minus 6, that's equivalent to 5. 5 lang, diba? Just 5. Just 5. And then k minus 4 minus 6. Power. The second one, the 25 becomes 5 squared. But since it's in the denominator, we are gonna have to raise that. So it will go like this: 1 over 25, 5 squared times k minus 5 power. Can you see it kahit nakamaliit? Can you see? Yan, it's 5. 5 squared. And then power law. And then that's equivalent to 5 cubed. Right? Now, all we have to do is to translate that to negative exponents. Because, just what I said, if you have an exponent in the denominator, in positive, if you were to bring that to the numerator, it's always negative. And furthermore, you can't have a variable in the denominator because mathematicians may have a hard time solving this. So therefore, it's got to be rewritten as, wait lang po ha. So it's going to be rewritten as 5 raised to the k minus 4 divided by 6 power times 5 raised to the negative 2 times k minus 5 power is equivalent to 5 over 5 raised to the negative cube. Just like that. Can you see the equation that I wrote here? Can you see what I did? Let's double check. On the numerator, on the first one, we have k minus 4 divided by 6. Right? On the second one, we have a negative exponent, right? So 5 squared is 25. And then, because it's negative, and we bring it to the numerator, it becomes negative 2. Right? And then at the last moment, on the right side, it becomes negative 3. Is it right? Correct. Now, all the bases are congruent. When all bases are congruent, we can now solve. Hey, this reminds you of something. This reminds you of solving for rational equations 101. So when all the bases are equal, as we zoom in a bit closer like this, we'll now play a game called Solving Rational Equations. Let's go. Let's solve it here. So remember here we have k minus 4 divided by 6. Right? And then we have, we distribute plus negative 2 times k minus 5, and it's equivalent to negative 3. The first thing that we need to do is to distribute the negative 2 to the k, right? Negative 2 times k, it's just like multiplying fractions here. So imagine that we have 1 here. So negative 2, so multiplying the numerators, negative 2 times k becomes negative 2k. 1 times k minus 5 is just itself, thanks to the identity property of multiplication, right? So now we have this equation. Now, we're back to rational equations 101. And how do we solve for the variable of k? We apply the finding of the LCD. So in this case, what do you think is the LCD? If you say that the LCD is 6 times 5 minus k minus 5, you are correct. So ano yung LCD namin? Ang LCD namin ay 6 and 6 times k minus 5. Now let's apply the math. So in here, we apply the LCD. I'll use another color to help you out. Writing this, we give you 6 k minus 5 k minus 4 divide by 6 plus 6 k minus 5 times negative 2k, right? All divided by k minus 5 again. And then on equals, we have negative 3 times the LCD. We don't have any LCD on the denominator, but whatever we do to the numerator, we have to multiply it with the LCD, even though it's equivalent to 1, right? But like, for example, remember I told you last time, when you have 2 and then 4/5, what do you think is the LCD here in this situation? We know if we just multiply 5 times 1. So here we try again, 5, and then 5, and this becomes 10 4/5. That's the LCD. Whatever you do to the denominator, you have to multiply it with the numerator. So we multiply that by the LCD to make sure all the fractions are equal, right? And your goal is to eliminate all the denominators. Para mawayasan na yan, we have to multiply by 6 and 5k. 6 times k minus 5. Just like that. Now, let's cross out whatever we need to cross out. In this particular situation, the 6 is cancelled. In this situation, no more k minus 5s. Now, let's do the math. So, we have k minus 5 here and k minus 4, right? Plus negative 12k. That's negative 12k pala here. And then negative 18, negative 3 times 6 is negative 18. So that becomes negative 18 equals negative 18. Negative 18 times negative 5 equals positive 90. Right? And now, let's distribute the 2. Let's work this out here para hindi kayo mahirapan. K minus 5, k minus 4. That's supposed to be positive 20. Sige, dito na lang para mas makita. I think you can see it. So, k minus 5, k minus 4. This becomes 20. Negative 4k, negative 5k, k squared. So, that's k squared minus 9k. That's 20. Okay? Now, let's go to the left. So, back here, we have k squared minus 9k plus 20 plus 12k is equivalent to negative 18k plus 90. Be very careful that you don't hurry up too much, otherwise you'll forget something. Okay? Now, we can combine like terms if we need to. Like for example, ang negative 9k at saka yung 12k, kung mag-like terms tayo, that would become k squared plus 3k plus 20 is equivalent to negative 18k plus 90. Now, since it's a quadratic equation, our goal is to set the right side to 0. So what do we do to make it 0? We need to even out on the right side and even out on the left side. Right? Teka. Ah, that's negative pala. So, what's your sign? Watch your sign carefully. Di siya negative 12K. That's supposed to be negative 15 pala. Negative 21 pala. Negative 21. Diba? And then minus 90. Minus 90 here. That's 18K here. Then we add. So we have K squared. What's 21 minus 18? Negative 21. That becomes negative 3K. Negative 3K. And then on the right side, we have negative 70. Very good. Equals 0. Now, let's solve for K's. Now, applying the rule, the factoring method, the cross method. What two numbers that you can get to give you negative 70 and then add to give you 3? Negative 3. 10 times 7, let's see. I'm sure 10 times 7 works. 10 times 7 to give you 70. 10 minus 7 to give you negative 3. Pero, which one should we keep? The negative, right? This one. And then this one on the right side, positive 7. Let's double check. So, x minus... So, x minus 10 and x plus 7. This becomes negative 70. 7x, negative 10x, x squared, negative 3x, negative 70. Correct. That's the right answer. So now we have set our values equal to 0. Therefore, therefore k is equivalent to, k can be negative or positive 7 equals 0. So we solve for the answer of both. K can be, on the left side, k can be positive 10. And on the right side, k can be negative 7. That's it. Now let's double check with our equation. But not the rational equation, but on the initial equation. Pero let's double check muna the rationale to see if we get the right answer. Because our answer was supposed to get negative 3. Pero if I plug negative 7 here, negative 7 minus 4, that's supposed to be negative 11. Negative 11 divided by 6, diba? So yan. Tapos this side naman, we have negative 2k and then k minus 5. Diba? Negative 2 times negative 7 is positive 14. Negative k, that's negative 7, diba? Negative 12. So that becomes negative 12, 14 over negative 12. Which is the same as, diba? Remember you get the LCD, diba? So that becomes, ano yun? Teka. Baka mali yun. Kasi diba remember, dapat we have to multiply it by negative 2. So tama, that's supposed to be negative. So therefore, we divide the negatives and that becomes positive. So therefore, we have both negatives here. So therefore, plus, ano yun? Plus 14 over 12. Then we apply this one, we get the LCD. Or actually, you can simplify this, make it at 14 over 12, make it into 7 over 6, diba? That's 2/3, which was not the answer that we're supposed to get. Pero never mind. I think it may not be the right answer. Pero yun. Basahin na naman yung 10, that is correct. Sige, double check na lang tayo dito sa YouTube. Sa calculator ko. So if I were to double check, ganito yun. Diba yung sa rational equation ko, we have negative 7, that's k, minus 4 divided by 6, and plus negative 2 times 7 over negative 7 minus. Tama, we're supposed to get negative 3. Because that becomes negative 11, negative 12, tapos, tama, that's supposed to be positive 14. Ah, yeah, tama, positive 14 pala. So, tama yun talaga dapat yung sagot. So, tama, that's negative 3. That is if we put negative 7. Now, we try putting positive 10. Di ba positive 10 dito? Di ba? Would we still get positive 3? Let's see. 10 minus 4, that gives you 6. 6 over 6 is 1. Negative 2 times 10, that's equivalent to negative 20. Right? 10 minus 5, that gives you 5. Negative 20 divided by 5, that's equivalent to 4. Negative 4. So 1 plus negative 4 equals negative 3 din. Correct. Now, putting it back into our equation, our literal equation, let's see if we get the answer of 1 over 125. So clear this out. We put in the root. So the 6th root of this one, this is, ano yun? 5 raised to the k minus 4 power, which is 10. Minus 4. We take the 6th root, so that evens out to 1. Diba? Diba, remember, it's just 1, diba? And then on the middle, we have this one, this one, we have the k minus 5 power, which is 10 minus 5. 10 minus 5. And then this becomes 25. Or you can rewrite as a fraction na lang kasi hindi ba remember it's raised to the negative 1. So that's 1 over the 10 minus 5 power of 25 raised to the, what is that power? 10, di ba? Sorry. 10. Di ba? And then, parentheses. Did we get 1 over 125? Yes, we did. Correct. That's the right answer. Now, how about you try naman kung negative 7? Kung naging negative 7 yan, did we still get the right answer? Whoa, that's kind of strange. We got 0.0008.001. Pero that's not quite right. Pero never mind. I know naman that's still the right answer. And that's it.